We're going to take a look at some of the Canvas new feature releases for the month of December and early January. There's some really good ones in here, so I hope you find some of these useful. We're going to start in new quizzes. In new quizzes now, multiple choice questions, you have the option to clear your selections. You'll turn this on in your quiz settings. Down here towards the bottom, it says allow clearing selection multiple choice. You'll have to turn that on. And once that is selected, your students will now be able to clear their multiple choice selections. So if they didn't want to answer the question or didn't need to answer the question for whatever reason, they would just hit this clear my selection and it would clear it out for them. The next thing we want to look at is that in fill in the blank questions, you now have the option to reuse your word bank. So once a student drags their question into that fill in the blank question, if you have this option turned on in the quiz question settings, those responses will still be available to be used multiple times. Another really cool thing that is now available in new quizzes is the full rich content editor. So students can now respond with pictures, with links, with their own media recordings, with file uploads. They can edit, they can add equations. So these are all now available to the students and also to you as teachers when you build questions. So if I wanted to edit this question stem, I can now add a media recording. I can add a picture. You can customize this however you want to now using that rich content editor. Going back to the fill in the blank, now that we're in our quiz settings, down here under the word bank distractor options, you can see we've got this allow word bank choices to be reused option. And just to show you a multiple choice question, like I said, you can add a media to individual multiple choice responses. So like you foreign language teachers, if you wanted to add different vocal responses or have students respond vocally to a prompt, you can now do that as part of a new quiz. All right, let's also take a look at some updates in Pages. You may have already found this one. You now have the option to add the page to the student to-do list, and you can also set when you want the page to publish. So if you want this to only be available starting on a certain date, you now have that option. Also with the rich content editor, you now have the ability to drag and drop. So say I have a picture from Google Images that I have searched using Creative Commons licensing, and I want to drag that picture into my page. All I have to do now is pick it up and drop it. Know also that depending on the picture, it may or may not show up if it's not licensed or you're not able to do the drag and drop. Some of the pictures are protected to where you're not able to drag and drop, so you might have to try it a couple times before you find a picture that will work. But if the picture is able to be dragged and dropped, you can now drag and drop that. You can also drag and drop text. So if I copy some text from one area and want to drag and drop that into another area, it automatically does that drag and drop. That's pretty exciting, especially I don't know if you've noticed that Unsplash is no longer an option. So with Unsplash going away, having that drag and drop ability is going to be a huge time saver. All right, let's take a look at some student feedback and grades. So going into the gradebook, this is a really quick one. You can now type in MI as a shortcut for a missing assignment, and it will mark that assignment as missing. If you didn't already know, you can do EX for excused or exempt, but that MI is now available for missing. Lastly, let's take a look at some student feedback updates. I'm going to take a look at one of my students in here. So now, as a student, if this grades icon is visible, or the grades navigation tool is available to them, when they have a new grade or updated feedback, there's now a number notification here so they can see that they need to take a look at it. And when I click on grades as a student, you can see that, first of all these are missing. So get notified about those. And this assignment that the student recently turned in, it has this little blue bubble next to it to show that there's some new feedback and a new grade, really just to make the feedback more visible to students. Historically speaking, especially if you've been using Canvas for a long time, you know that sometimes that feedback isn't as obvious to students or as easy for them to find. They have to actually be looking for it. So this should help bring that feedback more to the forefront for students. So those are some of the latest updates. Hope you found something useful in there. Please reach out if you have any questions.